Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our REFC meeting. My name is Thomas Varela. I am with the Urban League of Philadelphia. We appreciate you all joining us this evening for an important conversation on school funding and adequacy. If you are not speaking, we ask that you put yourself on mute. Myra, I'll turn it over to you for translation.
Hola, buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Thomas Varela. Soy parte de Urban League Filadelfia y gracias por estar aquí en esta junta de la financiación de las escuelas y adecuación. La interpretación de hoy va a ser consecutiva, así que yo voy a estar interpretando después de cada presentador. Así que por favor, pongamos en mudo nuestros micrófonos para que solamente se escuche una voz mientras que esté esta presentación. Gracias. Go ahead, Thomas.
At this time, I will invite Andrea Custis, President and CEO of the Urban League of Philadelphia, to provide brief greetings.
So first of all, again, Thomas, I want to thank you for your leadership and for doing a fantastic job. But even more importantly, I really want to thank everybody who's on here. These are the people who work hard. These are the people who care. I had a brief conversation early this morning with Senator Hughes. He wanted to try to get on here. He may or may not be able to. He just wants everyone to know we absolutely have his 100% support. I will be with him Thursday at Plymouth Meeting School so that we can make sure we send the same messages that all of you have been sending, you know, that the money is there in Harrisburg. Give us the money. There is plenty money in Harrisburg. There is no excuse here. And so we need for folks to give up the money and make sure that every child, regardless of their zip code, can work to their full potential, regardless of the zip code, regardless of what they look like. And I just want to thank this group. You have no idea how much I love you and how much I care about you. So just simply thank you for everything that you do.
Gracias a todos por estar aquí esta noche. Mi nombre es Andrea Custis. Todas las personas que están aquí presentes el día de hoy son muy importantes poder escuchar su voz. Yo acabé de hablar con el senador Hughes y nos está diciendo que el 100% nos está respaldando en esta propuesta y todos merecen tener los fondos en sus escuelas, no importar su código postal, todo el mundo merece tener la financiación adecuada. El dinero está ahí y es solamente cosa de que nos den el dinero. Gracias.
Right. At this time, we will have Deborah Gordon-Claire from the Education Law Center speak briefly. If you guys are not aware, there is actually a lawsuit happening in Pennsylvania where a group of organizations are suing the legislation demanding more money. So before Deborah speaks, Myra.
Ahora vamos a presentar a Deborah, que es parte del Centro de Ley, y si no sabían, hay una demanda en Pensilvania en este momento.
Thank you so much. I'm Deborah Gordon-Claire. I'm the Executive Director of the Education Law Center, and along with the Public Interest Law Center and a law firm O'Melveny, we represent 6 school districts, the NAACP, the Pennsylvania Association of Rural and Small Schools, and families whose children attend underfunded and under-resourced schools across Pennsylvania.
Sí, hola, yo soy Deborah y soy la directora ejecutiva del Centro de Ley y nuestro centro representa 6 distritos escolares en donde las familias acuden a escuelas de bajos recursos.
So we filed the lawsuit 7 years ago, and now we're in the middle of trial. We're in Harrisburg, in Commonwealth Court. We started November 12th. Myra, you tell me how much you want me to say before pausing, whatever works for you.
Thank you. You can keep going, Deborah.
Okay. So we're in the middle of Commonwealth Court in this case, in this trial that could really change the way the state funds public education, which would change the trajectory for generations of students in Pennsylvania. Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just completed our side. After 9 weeks of testimony, we called 29 witnesses. We have over 11,000 pages of trial testimony. about the effects of underfunded schools. We heard from 10 different school superintendents from all over Pennsylvania in presenting our case. And the testimony, whether they were rural, urban, or suburban, is really similar in that our schools don't have what they need, and so our students aren't getting what they need. We heard testimony from superintendents and school staff about large classes with insufficient staff, the absence of reading specialists or other intensive academic supports, difficulty hiring and keeping teachers and administrators, worn, outdated textbooks, deficient technology, limited offerings in areas like art or music, athletics, foreign languages, insufficient services for English learners, inadequate preschool offerings, not enough counselors and social workers. And educators said that the students experiencing these shortcomings are getting the message that their education is not valued. We also heard from expert witnesses about the positive effects of investment in education, that there could be billions of dollars in payoff for the Pennsylvania economy if the state would improve its modest college attainment rate. And we heard studies that have found again and again the significant benefits to students that come from educational investments. We had an expert named Dr. Rucker Johnson who talked about research showing that when funding reforms are implemented, they have narrowed the achievement gaps based on poverty and race and have improved long-term economic outcomes for students, including greater academic achievement, increased adult earnings. And so we finished our side, and now the other side, the legislative leadership will present their witnesses starting tomorrow, defending the current system of funding in Pennsylvania. That will take about 2 or 3 weeks before we get to closing arguments, and then we'll expect to wait some weeks or months for the judge to make her ruling. We can stick in the chat, but you can learn more at www.fundourschoolspa.org, and we're really grateful to have all of you here learning about and supporting not only the lawsuit, but the efforts for adequate and equitable school funding. Thanks.
Great. At this time, do not see, at this time we'll go into our presentation. We'll talk briefly about adequacy in school funding and why addressing the adequacy gap is critical to addressing inequities in our schools. So at this time, I invite Susan Spica to present. She's the Executive Director of the Education Voters of PA. Susan? Oh.
You gotta see the sky. You gotta see the sky with this cute. Yeah, went away, you missed it.
Susan, are you there? A few minutes dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties.
Estamos esperando a Susan a que entre a la presentación.
Susan, it looks like you're muted.
There we go. Hi, sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted. I'm sorry. So today we're going to talk about the adequacy gap in education. Senator Hughes entered the room.
El senador Hughes acaba de entrar al cuarto y hoy estaremos hablando de la adecuación, la brecha de adecuación en la educación pública.
Hey, Susan, can I just ask you for 5 minutes or so? For most
Yep.
of you that are on here, you know Senator Hughes. We don't have a bigger supporter than Senator Hughes up in Commonwealth. He understands as well, if not better than all of us, regardless of a child's zip code, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of where they live in the Commonwealth. Every child deserves to be able to work to their full potential. So with that, I want to turn it over to Senator Hughes to give us a message.
Before Senator Hughes, Senator, before you begin, Myra, if you could provide a quick interpretation.
Sí, solamente les queremos dejar saber que el senador Hughes acaba de entrar a la Junta y no sé si conozcamos a un senador que nos respalde más que el senador Hughes porque él realmente cree que todo mundo merece su educación, no importar su código postal. Así que adelante, senador Hughes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Senator Hughes.
thank you very much. Hey, everybody, what's up, Andrea?
Hey, what's up?
Just trying to get it all done. Thanks for giving me just a couple minutes. I don't want to interfere with any presentation or conversation that Deborah Gordon Claire will be a part of. So I will go right to the point. First of all, I'd like to just provide some context of where things are in Pennsylvania. And for everyone here who appears, from what I can see, to have some historical relationship or knowledge of how the state has operated financially, I want folks to understand that in this year, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is running a projected budget surplus of about $7 billion. And that's with a B, not with a M, $7 billion. This does not include the rainy day fund, which is about 2.8 billion sitting there. It does not include the unspent American Rescue Plan dollars, which is about $2.25 billion. But we are sitting on a budget surplus of about $7 billion, which will be realized on June 30th. All I want to say is to that end, it is historic. We've never had that kind of surplus. It is monumental. It is largely driven by a number of the policies from the Biden-Harris administration that we are in this excellent fiscal situation. And what we're saying as a result of this historic funding that we have in Pennsylvania, and it is sustaining as well. The dollars that we have coming in are dollars that we anticipate will come in over years. They are not one-time issues. There's not one-time hits that are coming in. What we're saying is that we need to take this historic surplus and do something historic with these extra dollars. And what we introduced yesterday, Senate Democrats, House Democrats, is not the fair funding plan. It is the full funding plan, where we are suggesting that $3.75 billion be spent to educate our children fully. $3.75 billion. And we're not offering these figures out of thin air. They come in the context of historic surplus that we have in Pennsylvania that will sustain itself over years. 2.75 of those $3.75 billion should go directly into classroom-related supports. $1.1 billion into the fair funding formula. $1.1 billion into the fair funding formula. It will be the largest increase ever in any education spend, and definitely in the fair funding formula. One time, plus another $750 million would go into the Level Up program, which is targeted as we have designed it, targeted not just for 100 of the most needy school districts, but 200 of the most needy school districts. We talk about funds for career and technical education. We talk about funds for grade level reading, which I think most folks on this call know is something extremely important to me, and I've spent a lot of time working on. We talk about funds for teacher supports, recruiting teachers, training teachers, supporting teachers, creating a more diverse pool of teachers to work in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We talk about the things that we know make a difference in the lives of our children, in their classrooms, in their situations, both at home and in the school, after school, weekend, and what have you. So what we're saying to folks is we launched this on Monday. It was received fairly. It's unusual because there's been so little conversation talking about real solutions to get at the real problems that we have in Pennsylvania at a magnitude, at scale. But I must say that these moments don't come often. And either we step up to the plate and seize the moment and talk about the kind of dollars that our children deserve to have, that our teachers deserve to have, that everyone involved in the academic reality and the supports of our students, they all deserve to have. Either we seize the moment or we let it pass. We talk about $1 billion of unspent American Rescue Plan funds to be utilized for the repairing of toxic and broken schools. So understand that this proposal is now public. It is out there. We're prepared to talk to anyone and everybody who wants to hear it. We're prepared to talk to all of them about what it is that we're suggesting. Again, either we step up to the plate and take this historic moment and do what is right and appropriate and necessary with the folks who are fighting the lawsuit in Commonwealth Court right now are talking about. Either we step up to the plate or we fail. We fail the moment, and most importantly, we fail the children. We're stepping up to the plate with the full funding plan. We'd ask folks to check out our websites. You can go to senatorhughes.com and see what's there. There's a petition that you can sign and start circulating. If you need more presentations by me and others in the future, we're prepared to come and make those presentations. Zoom works, right? But this is it, folks. When we had this press announcement, I was there. It was done virtually. Myself, my counterpart, Representative Matt Bradford, who's the Democratic chair of the House Appropriations Committee. Of course, you know I serve as the Democratic chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee. Senator Costa, our Democratic leader, a number of senators from across Pennsylvania. And we believe that this has wide support amongst the Senate and House Democrats. We also know we shared this with the administration, Governor Wolf, and his team is very interested in what it is that we've laid out. And we're working with him to, when he announces his budget address on next Tuesday, that hopefully his program will be as robust as ours, and we are encouraging that. So Andrea, I will stop right there because as I said, I don't want to get in front of a presentation by Deborah Claire or anyone else here. And however you want me to operate, I'll be glad to. Thank you for this opportunity.
Senator Hughes, thank you so much. Just know that we are all at the plate with you.
Thank
We
you.
all have your back and we know you have our back. So we are 100% with you. We mean that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Solamente, Gracias. Solamente para interpretar lo que dijo el senador Hughes, nos está contando que para proveer contexto de Pensilvania, todos aquí parece ser que ya tenemos un poquito de conocimiento de la financiación del estado de Pensilvania y cómo funciona en la educación pública. Nos está contando que hay un presupuesto o un surplus, como le dicen en inglés, de 7,000 millones de dólares que se puede usar, y esto no está incluyendo el otro dinero que todavía existe en el estado de Pensilvania. Para junio 30 se espera que se pueda administrar este presupuesto de 7,000 millones de dólares. Está contando que hay 3.75 mil millones que se puede usar para las escuelas públicas. 1.1 mil millones que es para el Fair Funding Formula o fórmula de financiamiento justo, y esto va a ayudar a aumentar para ayudar en la educación pública. Y hay 750 millones para aumentar programas en las escuelas públicas, y no es solamente para las 100 escuelas de bajos recursos, sino para 200 escuelas de bajos recursos. Y estos fondos van a ayudar para la educación técnica, para la lectura, para reclutar a maestros, entrenar a maestros, tener más maestros diversos en las escuelas y otras cosas más que les ayuden a los estudiantes durante la escuela, después de la escuela y durante sus fines de semana. Así que eso es lo que ellos tratan de hacer, y quieren el respaldo de todos, y él piensa que están recibiendo respaldo muy amplio de todo, del Senado y de la Cámara de Representantes. Gracias.
Thank you very
Gracias.
much, Myra. At this time, we'll turn it over to Susan. Susan, having trouble hearing you.
Okay, so we are going to talk about how underfunded each school district is, which is what we call the adequacy gap. So we're going to talk about, since 2008, Pennsylvania state law has set a benchmark for calculating how many resources schools need so that the students in their buildings can reach state standards. So when we have PSSA tests or Keystone exams, the state has set, they've said, this is what students should know. The tests measure what students should know. And in state law, they have a calculation that shows how many resources each school needs. Penn State College professor Matthew Kelly found that according to this benchmark in state law, we are $4.6 billion short in the amount of money that we need to be spending so that all of our students have a shot at being able to meet the standards. And in fact, 277 school districts need more than $2,000 per student. In the end, hundreds of thousands of students are going without the basics and without what they need to reach their potential.
Ok, hoy estaremos hablando de la brecha de adecuación en la educación pública. Desde el 2008, la ley estatal de Pensilvania ha establecido un punto de referencia para calcular los recursos que las escuelas necesitan para sus estudiantes y que tengan la oportunidad de alcanzar los estándares académicos estatales. El profesor de colegio de educación de Penn State, Matthew Kelly, descubrió que según el punto de referencia del estado, 277 distritos de Pensilvania necesitan más de $2,000 por estudiante para apoyar adecuadamente las necesidades de aprendizaje de sus estudiantes, pues totalizándolo a una necesidad de 4,600 millones en todo el estado para educar adecuadamente a nuestros nenes. Cientos de miles de estudiantes se quedan sin lo básico y sin las cosas que necesitan para alcanzar su potencial.
And so what is the adequacy gap? What is that $4.6 billion? It's teachers in our classrooms. It's extra help for students who are behind. It is STEM labs and computers. It is librarians and nurses. It is everything that our students need to be able to thrive, to learn when they're young, and to thrive. So that is what the $4.6 billion is what we're missing because of the $4.6 billion gap.
Entonces, ¿qué es lo que requiere esta brecha, no? ¿Cómo se cierra la brecha de estos 6.1 millones de dólares? Pues, ¿qué constituye esto? Pues se necesitan, por ejemplo, las bibliotecas en las escuelas, las maestras que administran esa biblioteca escolar, laboratorios, clases de computación y ese tipo de cosas.
So there is no way to solve this problem with the dollars we have now. We can't just cut the pieces differently and have enough money. We would just fight over crumbs. So without a big increase, like Senator Hughes referred to, without a big increase from our legislature, we're still going to see hundreds of thousands of students who are going without the basics just because of where they live. And the root of this problem is that Pennsylvania ranks 45th in the nation for the state share of funding. So when the state is cheap, it means that local communities have to raise a lot of money from their own communities. And some communities have a lot of wealth. It's very easy for them to raise local property taxes. Other communities do not have a lot of local wealth. And no matter how high they raise their taxes, they simply cannot raise the wealth they need to fund their schools. So it is the state legislature and the state legislature alone that can fix this, the inequality, and can fix the deprivation. And the lawsuit in Harrisburg is correctly arguing that they have a constitutional obligation to fix this problem.
Entonces, no hay manera de resolver este problema con el nivel de financiación que tenemos ahora. Simplemente dividimos el pastel de manera diferente y entonces estaremos peleándonos por las migajas, ¿no? O por lo poquito que hay para la educación. Sin un aumento sustancial en los fondos de Harrisburg, miles de niños se quedarán sin lo básico debido al lugar donde viven. La baja proporción de financiamiento que proviene del nivel estatal es la causa de la desigualdad y las privaciones que vemos en el Estado Libre Asociado. Estamos en el puesto 45 en el país en participación estatal de los ingresos del distrito. La legislatura estatal y solo la legislatura estatal puede corregir la desigualdad y la privación que vemos en Pensilvania. Es su obligación constitucional hacerlo.
And so the law centers put together a website that we already put in the chat, fundourschoolspa.org. And if you scroll down a little bit on the webpage, you will find a map. And this is a really neat tool that we can all use to find out how much each school district in the state is underfunded. So I'm just going to walk through how you can find your own school district in the next couple slides. So you would scroll down your screen until you find the map. And if you hover over the upper left-hand corner, you'll get the search bar to appear. And then you would type your name of your school district into the search bar.
Entonces, aquí enseguida vamos a ver cómo puede encontrar el distrito escolar al que pertenece y en las próximas pantallas vamos a explicar cómo lo hace, pero simplemente cuando vaya a este sitio web, usted va a deslizar su página y va a oprimir ahí y va a poner el nombre de su escuela.
Then this little box will pop up and it'll have I'm using Reading School District as our example. It pops up and it tells you the shortfall per student, and then it says see district details. And so the next step is to click on see district details.
Entonces, cuando escriba el nombre, por ejemplo, yo usaré el de mi distrito, Reading, le va a salir aquí una cajita con esta información. Abajito va a haber una cadena que es un enlace que dice See District Details o ver detalles del distrito y va a oprimir ese enlace.
And then when you click on that, it pulls up a page that shows you the details about your own school district. So in Reading, it says how does public school funding underfunding affect your community? And it shows what Reading's shortfall is $160 million or $805,000 per student. And then it talks about the county, 16 of 18 districts are underfunded in that county. And then we get more information about the state. And then if you get down to the bottom, it says click to download a shareable image.
Y entonces cuando oprimas enlace le va a salir esta página que dice cómo es que la falta de financiamiento de escuelas públicas le afecta a su comunidad. Y entonces van a ver aquí que, por ejemplo, mi escuela en mi distrito, Reading, está corta de 160 millones, 161,762 dólares en Pensilvania para la adecuación básica. Y luego abajo de ese número les da un promedio de la escuela por estudiante y es de $8,592 anualmente. Cuando bajan hasta abajo van a tener aquí la opción que dice click to download o oprima para descargar una imagen.
And then you get an image and you can share that image on social media. And so, you know, one tool that we can use, a lot of people don't understand like that we even have the school funding lawsuit going on. It can be hard to dig down and to talk about school funding and to talk about adequacy, but these little images I have found have been really useful tools in helping my community understand just how much our state legislature is underfunding our schools. So you can share the image on social media. We are using the hashtag #FundOurSchoolsPA. And then, you know, I've encouraged people, and I think it's helpful to encourage people to visit fundourschoolspa.org to learn about their own district. And then also you can sign up and get email updates. So you will learn, you'll get directly inboxed in your email updates about what's happening at the trial. You can go and read the testimony of what has happened before. So I think it's important to spread the word about the school funding lawsuit and about how underfunded our schools are, because we're going to, well, I'll save that for the next slide.
Muy bien, aquí pueden ver la imagen que descargué y esto simplemente a mí me ha ayudado mucho a entender los números de mi escuela y cuánta financiación aún necesita, y pueden compartir esta imagen cuando la descarguen en sus redes sociales. Pueden usar el hashtag FundOurSchoolsPA, también pueden ir a nuestro sitio web fundourschoolspa.org y también se pueden suscribir para recibir actualizaciones acerca del tribunal y la corte que estamos que está ahorita en acción.
And so, like, what's next? So Governor Wolf, so we heard from Senator Hughes. So we have seen that the Senate and House Democrats have put forward a budget proposal. Next week on Tuesday, Governor Wolf will announce his budget proposal. And then from February until June, in Harrisburg, state lawmakers are going to discuss and have hearings, and they are going to make a decision about how much funding our schools get. And our job as advocates is to make sure that they hear from us often and all the time about the fact that our schools are grossly underfunded, that there is a lawsuit, and that they are violating, the legislature is violating the Constitution, and that it is the job of our state lawmakers to make a gigantic, enormous investment in education to help close that $4.6 billion gap. So understanding, for us to know how much our schools are being underfunded is really helpful to talk to our lawmakers and to share with our community, because we're going to really need to be doing a lot of advocacy starting now until they pass the budget in June.
Entonces, ¿qué es lo que sigue? Tenemos que estar pendientes porque el 8 de febrero el gobernador Wolf estará hablando de su presupuesto y de hecho nosotros estaremos haciendo un webinar para compartir el análisis de qué significa el presupuesto de él para las escuelas públicas de Pensilvania. Y para más información va a haber una vigilia estatal que va a marcar el fin de esta demanda que hay para las escuelas públicas de Pensilvania. Así que es muy importante que estemos muy informados de qué es lo que significa esto, porque nosotros tenemos que ser los defensores de esto y vamos a tener que hacer abogacía para poder hablar con estos funcionarios y que ellos entiendan que lo que están haciendo no está bien y de hecho es una violación constitucional.
And then there are two other things that you could do. So one thing we're working on is asking people to go to their school boards and ask their school boards to pass a resolution in support of the school funding lawsuit. We have all the materials you need. I can make a packet for you and put it in the mail. I can hop on the phone with you and talk through what it looks like to ask your school board to do this. We have really detailed instructions at that link and we'll send this presentation out to you. Getting school boards to show support for the school funding lawsuit is really helpful. They send the resolution to their state lawmakers, and then the state lawmakers know people in their community are talking about it. It is one way to put pressure on Harrisburg. So that's something we'd really love people to be able to do. We have about 20 school districts that have passed them, and we've got a lot of people out there meeting around the state doing that. And so we will send you this information. And then the second thing is that we are going to be setting up statewide vigils all over the state where people can mark the end of the school funding lawsuit in a very solemn and serious way, so that we can, really embrace and appreciate the huge importance of this lawsuit and the real opportunity that we have to make a difference and finally get kids the funding they need.
Sí, entonces otra cosa que queremos animar que las personas hagan es que hablen con sus juntas directivas escolares para que pasen una resolución. Esto va a ser en respaldo de la demanda que estamos teniendo estatalmente con el distrito escolar, con el distrito escolar de Pensilvania. Entonces, hay hasta ahora 20 distritos escolares que han pasado una resolución en respaldo a esto. Y también, número 2, va a haber una vigilia que de nuevo que va a ser algo estatal y va a marcar el fin de la demanda a las escuelas, el financiamiento de las escuelas de Pensilvania.
And thank you. These are our partner organizations, and we are just so grateful to get to work with so many wonderful organizations. And I'm going to put in the chat when I'm off, there's a Spanish section on the school funding lawsuit, Fund Our Schools PA, that has a lot of information about the lawsuit in Spanish. So I will put a link to that in the chat.
Y les queremos dar las gracias a esas organizaciones que vimos en pantalla hace un rato. También estaré poniendo más información en el chat con un poquito de traducción al español. Y sí, gracias.
Great. Thank you very much, Susan, for the presentation. We appreciate the thoroughness of the information.
Muchas gracias, Susan, por la presentación. Apreciamos mucho toda la información que nos diste.
We encourage you to stay connected with the organizations that you are associated with and the organizations that were listed on the presentation. As you know, we are all focused on education funding and ensuring that our kids and our future leaders have the resources they need to be successful. We really appreciate all the work of the organizations in bringing us all together. And we also appreciate you all for joining us this evening, because ultimately it takes all of us as a collective to see the change that we need in our community.
De nuevo les queremos dar las gracias a todos y les pedimos que se mantengan conectados con las organizaciones con las que están asociadas. De nuevo vamos a tener un modo de conexión y les recordamos que esto es muy importante porque estos son los fondos para la educación de nuestros nenes para que puedan ser los líderes del futuro y tengan todos los recursos y herramientas que necesitan para lograrlo.
So with that, we will give you the rest of your evening back. We appreciate you all joining us once again. And we, more importantly, encourage you to stay in touch with your organization. It's really critical that you stay connected. As we mentioned, we will be continuing to host different education webinars like this to educate and empower our community to fully understand what is at stake, to help them understand how to connect with leaders, but more importantly, to empower them to bring this issue to the community, mobilize their friends and family to understand that we all must be part of this fight. So I want to thank our REFC partners, Education Voters of Pennsylvania, Children's First, CASA, Make the Road, 1PA, Education Law Center, Acclamo, for their support in this initiative. And I am with the Urban League of Philadelphia, and we thank you for joining us this evening.
Gracias de nuevo a todos. Les seguimos recordando que se mantengan conectados con sus organizaciones, con las que están asociadas, que traigan estos temas de la educación, falta de fondos en la educación a sus comunidades para que sigan hablando de esto y sigan luchando por esto. Y les damos las gracias a todas las organizaciones como Make the Road, CASA y otras organizaciones. Yo soy Tomás Varela de Urban League, Pensilvania. Gracias.
Adios.
Thank you for our great interpreter.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.